Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my second book review of the day. I obviously first uploaded my review of The Search Part 2, which hopefully you've watched. Now, as I said in that video also, I'm going to be reviewing the other book that I got, and that is The Legend of Korra Endgame. So, I think the first thing to actually talk about is first, what is this thing? Because unless you're in the really super in-depth part of the fandom, you probably won't even know what this is. Now, what is Endgame? It obviously has a number 2 there, and there. It is the second junior novelization from Random House, who are the publisher. The first one was this one, which is Revolution. And what together these two basically adapt Korra Book 1 Air in junior novel form. So this covers K106 through K101 to K106, the first 6 episodes. And then this book, which I'm reviewing, covers K107 to K112. And it's obviously titled Endgame. Now, let me just get the creative team on this out of the way. Adapted by Erica David, basically written by her, based on the screenplays by Mike DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, and as I said, it's published by Random House. And overall, the book, it's fairly nice. It's a color cover using some stock artwork of Korra and Amon in the background. Background has a blurb basically about the second part of it. It's 252 pages long, and in the middle it has 3 pages of screenshots. So they're kind of done newspaper style, screenshots from the show, just to kind of go through and give you a visual representation of what this story is about. It's just, as I said, just 3 pages of screenshots, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 images. I went, there's 4 pages of screenshots with 16 images on them. Gonna need to remember that. So yeah, it's just a nice thing. It's a reasonably nice looking book. The paper is not the best quality, but the print is pretty big. It's not too much to a page, and that sort of thing. It's easy to read. Now, on to the actual content of the book. The main reason I'm reviewing this, first of all, is because, as I said, not many people really know about this or what it is. And the main reason for that is because it's nothing new to us. It is a junior novelization. It's not really aimed at the online adult part of the fandom, really, so that's the first thing to say. This book probably is better suited to younger fans who are kind of first getting into Avatar, moving on to these kind of trickier books and stuff like that. So, how does it do at adapting the second half of Korra Book 1? It does a really good job. I liked Revolution and the way it was written because it was super easy to read. It made it a real page turner because Korra is an exciting story, and it worked well to just really fast paced go through these episodes, boom boom boom, big exciting moments, and stuff like that. Never really focusing too much on like certain parts. It's really just boom boom boom, and that makes it work well as a book. It's quick to read. I've read this in basically an hour, just a bit over an hour, or the first one in under an hour. So they're quick reads for me, and stuff like that. But I think this one wasn't as good as the first book. I thought Revolution was better because it had more new things. Revolution had a few extra scenes, a lot more extra details, and stuff like that, new bits of dialogue. While Endgame is very much just an adaptation. There's a few tiny little additional things, but nothing on the same level as Revolution had. And so that meant that I went into Endgame with fairly high expectations, looking for these sort of scenes. I was hoping that they'd expand upon maybe some of the stuff that even the show maybe kind of felt a little bit rushed. But it didn't. It was a straight up adaptation for the most part. There's a few extra scenes that you have some of Korra's thoughts on, but nothing much else. But obviously, that was my expectation as an adult fan, wanting this book for the main reason of getting this new content, as well as, it's a piece of core merchandise. That's cool. But I expected a bit more. So I'll quickly go through the new bits that are actually in the book. On page 7, when Lynn is talking to the press about basically what happened in episode 6, one reporter is described as being from the Republic Daily News. So that's the name of one of the papers in Republic City. And I don't think we knew that before, but I'm not sure. We probably might have heard it in dialogue somewhere. But anyway, that was fairly new to me. On page 39, when they first see the mecha tanks for the first time, the kind of viewing hull is described as being like a deep sea diving helmet, which basically confirms that there's deep sea diving in the Avatar world now, that technology has advanced to the point where people can actually go underwater even if they're not waterbenders. So that's a pretty cool point. If that ever comes up in the series, someone needs to go deep sea diving, that'd be cool. On page 57, there's an interesting, let me just get this part up, 57, here we go. There's an interesting point about the air acolytes that may hint at something. Korra had come to live with them to complete her airbending training along with the other air acolytes under Tenzin's instruction. So Korra, that basically says Korra's doing her airbending training with the air acolytes under Tenzin's instruction. Is that suggesting that some of the air acolytes can airbend? Or does it just mean that some of the air acolytes participate in the training to further understand the air nomad philosophy or something like that? I felt that line maybe could have been worded a bit better, or else it's hinting at something. But anyway, on page 92, when Korra's fighting Tarlok in his office, K108, when extremes meet kind of time, when he starts attacking her, the book basically says that she goes into her airbending training. She starts to use the airbending kind of movement. Even though she can't airbend as such, she uses the movements to dodge these icicles that he's throwing at her. And you could sort of speculate that that's what was happening in the show, but to have it actually written down there that that's what happened was just a nice moment for me in the book, and I like that. Page 118, at the start of the flashbacks of the old crew, it says that Sokka is the council chairman on the Republic City Council. So he wasn't just on the council, he was the chairman. So he's the kind of number one guy on the council. I don't think we knew that from the show, and that was a nice kind of fact to have. Page 145. This was the interesting thing about the writing, and probably one of my complaints about the book. The same with Revolution. The sort of stuff I expected from this book would be that when a character who in the show wasn't named came up in the book, that because of the way a book has to be written, that they'd actually give them a name instead of constantly going, the Fire Nation Councilwoman went here, the Fire Nation Councilwoman said this. But no, the chapter that starts with the Fire Nation Councilwoman getting basically taken out by the Equalists literally has that about 4 or 5 times. The Councilwoman did this, instead of just giving her a name. And I didn't like that. Why can't it just say what her name is and say that instead of having to say the councilwoman every time? Final point I want to make, is just the final page of the book. We obviously know what happens at the end. Tenzin says, "I'm so proud of you, Avatar Korra," and she smiles proudly at this. But within the book, we get a little insight into how she feels about this. Korra smiled. For the first time, the title felt absolutely right. She liked how it sounded, and anyone who didn't, ... well, they would just have to deal with it. And I love this because this line references Korra's first line as we see her in the show, which is, as a little girl bursting through the wall of her house and saying, "I'm the Avatar, you gotta deal with it." And at that point in time, she hadn't developed enough to, I suppose, be respected as the Avatar. She calls herself that, but in this moment it's someone she respects, and Tenzin calling her that, and calling her that honestly, like she honestly thinks she is the Avatar now. And that works so well for me as like a perfect way to end the book, and almost work better in the book than in the show because you have an insight into Korra's thoughts. But yeah, that is the last thing I have to say about new things in the book. So final thoughts are, I would recommend this book to three groups of people basically. People who have Revolution already, just so you're not left with just one half of book 1 in novel form, so that you have the two of them. Then, you can stop there, you don't have to get the book 2 novels when they come out. The second group would just be people who like Korra merchandise in general. This was the first mass release piece of Avatar merchandise. Why not get one of the second ones after the DVD and stuff like that? And finally, to, I suppose, parents who have kids maybe moving on to slightly more adventurous kind of books in terms of the reading level, I think these books would work very well for that, because, as I said, they're real page turners. They're easy to read, and they're pretty exciting. The story, of course, is exciting, and it's very fast paced. So I think this would get kids really wanting to read. If you get the first one, they probably ask for the second one too. So I think that's the kind of what these books are for. They are junior novelizations for the younger fans, and to some extent, adult fans can get something out of them. I found a few points, but for the most part, I thought it was disappointing compared to Revolution. And I hope that when the first book adapting book 2 comes out, that they kind of return to that style of adding in scenes where needed and stuff like that. But overall, that's my review of the Endgame book. I really wanted to cover it because more than likely no one else is going to do it that actually reviews stuff. So I wanted to get some information out about this book just to show the people that he exists. So thanks for watching, and bye.